Hi, my name is Bob Clements, and I'm excited to have you as a part of this webinar. This is a webinar that I'm doing exclusively for our Dealer Toolbox subscribers. One of the questions that we get asked quite a bit as we're working with dealerships, probably like yours, is about flat rating and how it works and why you should do it, and is it not taking advantage of customers, and are my techs rates going to be changed because of it? So as those questions came in, we decided that it was time to do a little kind of a mini webinar on flat rates and what flat rating really is, how it works, the impact it has on your dealership, and the impact it can have on your techs and ultimately your customers too, because flat rating really gives your customers an advantage. I know a lot of times that techs don't think that's true, but it does, and I'm going to explain why that is and why it works the way it does. So what I'd like to do is just spend a moment and really get us to understand a little bit about what flat rating is. Flat rating is done in a lot of different industries, not just in the repair industry, but it's really a standardized charge for a specific service that's performed. That's all it is. So we're saying this is how much we're going to charge for this particular service. If you've ever been to a doctor's office, you have been in a flat rate situation. In most cases, a doctor charges X amount of dollars for an office visit. And let's say it's $45, and at that moment he or she is flat rating their service. If they spend 10 minutes with you or 30 minutes with you, it's the same price. And the benefit to you and to them is it simplifies billing for both the doctor and the patient, and it's just based around average costing. So a doctor may say, okay, on the average I spend 15 minutes with a patient, and so for that 15 minutes I need $45. Sometimes I spend 10 minutes with them, sometimes I spend 20 minutes with them, but as an average it's about 15 minutes, and that's really all flat rating is. It's trying to come up with an average for this, and some people take a little less time, some people take a little bit more time. If you take more time, you're not charged more. If you take less time this time, you're charged the same, because the next time you come in, it may take the doctor a little bit longer. So it's just an averaging of costs. And again, all it's done and designed to do is to really simplify things for the patient and for the doctor. If a patient came in and let's say the doctor spent 12 minutes with them, the doctor would say, well, gosh, you owe me $32.83. If they spent 17 minutes with them, they may say you owe me $49.53. It just doesn't make sense to do it that way. So from a professional perspective, flat rating is a great tool to use as you move people forward. When you think about flat rating, the same holds true for a barber shop. I had my hair cut the other day, and the barber charges $15 for a haircut. And when they do that, whether your wife goes to a beauty salon or you go to a styling shop or wherever you go, their rate in most cases is a flat rate. And so they charge me $15, and they've always charged me $15, so they have over several years. And each year I go in, I have less hair, but interesting enough, they still charge me the exact same amount for it. If I had a full head of hair, it would be $15. If I was bald and just needed it trimmed lightly, it's still $15. It's a standard rate. So a barber shop or a hairstyling salon or a beauty shop, whatever it is, they have flat rates for certain things. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do more, and if you do, then they add on to that. But for the most part, what they're trying to do is standardize their rates to make it easy for them and to make it easy for the customer that's coming in. So again, if you've gone to a barber shop, a beauty shop, a hairstyling salon, as a technician, as an owner, you've been in a flat rated situation. No different than the doctor's office. If you've gone into the doctor's office, as I said before, and you had a visit, that time was a flat rated time. Doctors even do it today for specific types of surgeries. A hip surgery is this much. A joint replacement is this much. The government does it when they give doctors X amount of dollars for a procedure. The government has a flat rate for that. And they say this is what you're going to get as a doctor, this is what we're going to pay. And I tell people, so even the government does flat rating. It's just a simplified way of doing things. Not there to take advantage of anybody, but it just makes life a lot simpler. The same is true at a restaurant. If my wife and I went out to have a meal, and on the menu there is a price for this meal, maybe that my wife is looking at ordering, and my wife may look at that meal, and let's say the meal is $20, just to make it simple. And they look at the menu and they say it's $20. My wife may say, well, I don't really want that on it. And they will give her an option to say, well, is there something else we can substitute for it? But if she says, no, I don't want anything else, and I don't really want that on it, they don't reduce the price of that meal. The meal is $20. Whether you want that on it or you don't want that on it, it's $20. And again, so if you've ever been into a restaurant and you picked up a menu, you were involved in flat rate pricing. They call it menu pricing, and you have menu pricing in your dealership I'm going to talk about, but menu pricing and flat rate pricing are exactly the same thing. So the same happens in your dealership. You flat rate things all the time, whether you're aware of it or not, or your techs are aware of it or not, but there's very few dealerships that I don't go into that sharpen either blades or chains. And if you have a set price for sharpening a chain, let's say you've got a price for 16 to maybe 24-inch bars on chains, and maybe it's $9.50. So you charge somebody $9.50 to sharpen a 16-inch chain. You charge somebody $9.50 to sharpen a 20-inch chain. It's a flat rate. And again, so you do it because it's easier for the customer and it's easier for yourself. Same thing with blades. If somebody comes in with a blade for a 21-inch mower and they come in with a blade for say a 48-inch mower, and it has 3 blades on it and they're shorter than the blade for the 21-inch mower, you don't charge the guy that has the blade for the 21-inch mower more because his blade is longer. You have a flat rate that you charge to sharpen a blade. And if the blade happens to be 16 inches or it happens to be 22 inches, doesn't make any difference. You have a flat rate that you charge for that. So when we talk about flat rating, I know sometimes in dealerships people say, well, we just shouldn't flat rate. I say, you do it all the time. You're standardizing certain pricing practices that just make it easier for both you and for the customer. Somebody comes in with a chain that's been poorly sharpened before, you'll probably spend more time getting it right, but they're still going to pay $9.50 to do it. On the same thing with a blade. If somebody comes in with a blade that's got a big nick out of it, it takes you longer to get that blade right and to grind it and get it balanced, but it's still going to be the same rate for that in most cases. So I want you to understand that as you think about flat rating, or as your people think about it, I could probably point out 1,000 different things in your, maybe not 1,000. I can point out a lot of different things in your dealership that are already flat rate based at some point. So it's not something that's unusual to do. It's the same thing for basic services. Most of you as dealers have, I call it menu pricing, but it would be services for basic services. So it might be a garden tractor, or you may have a basic rate for, say, a 200 horse tractor to do a 200, or not a 200 horse tractor, but let's say a 60 horse tractor to do a 200-hour service on. In most cases, most of you already have a time established for that. If it takes you less time, it doesn't matter. If it takes you more time, it doesn't matter. This is the time that you're going to do for it. Might be on a garden tractor. Most of my dealers have a 2 to 2.5 hour flat rate for the labor, because you never know what you're going to get into on them. Sometimes it's faster and sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but from a customer's perspective, it's just a standardized price. So why do you do it? Again, it's easier for you as a dealer and it's easier for the customer. They like to know, how much is it going to cost me to have you service my garden tractor or my lawnmower or my chainsaw or my string trimmer or my tractor and my loader. They like to know that. It makes it a lot easier for the customer. So when you think about flat rating, understand that if you're doing menu pricing, you have basic services that you offer for a predetermined rate. That is a flat rate. No different than the menu at the restaurant is a flat rate. So you already are doing those things, so just understand that. Even the post office, I was laughing as I was kind of putting this together, and you think about the government and flat rating, but the post office has been doing it now for a few years with their flat rating service. If you go to the post office and you can get a box, and the box is a flat rate box, that's what it says on it, and if you can put it in that box regardless of how much it weighs, it ships for the exact same amount of money. I could put a feather in that box, or I could put lead in that box, and that box, according to the post office, still ships for the exact same amount of rate. And I think their logo is, if it fits, it ships for one low price. And so the government flat rates, the post office flat rates, and again, it's a matter of convenience. It makes it simple for people that you work with. People want to know how much is it going to be, and flat rating gives us the ability to do that for our customers, and I think it makes the customers feel better. You know, there's a lot of confusion about flat rating. I want to touch on that briefly. One of the things when we go into shops, most of my service managers who don't flat rate say, well, Bob, it's just, you just can't do it. Jobs can't be flat rated. There are so many variables, there are so many things happening. You just don't get it, Bob. Well, I do get it. We do a couple hundred dealerships a year. We're in probably more shops than anybody else out there with me and my team. We're in construction, ag, power equipment, outdoor power sports, RV. We're in it. And they're all the same. And I'm convinced, after all the years I've been doing it, 25, almost 30 years now, that 75% of all the work in a shop has been done before and can be flat rated. When I'm standing next to a guy in a shop and I talk to him about flat rating, I'm standing next to a tractor they're going to put a clutch in. He goes, well, we just don't know what it's going to be till we get in there. And I go, really? How many of these have we done before? Well, we do quite a few of these. Well, on the average, what's it take to do it? Well, we average about 8 hours. So I said, okay, so let's use 8 hours as a baseline. Let's say, okay, this job is going to flat rate at 8 hours. Doesn't mean that's all we can get for it, but at least from a customer's perspective, it gives us a starting point for it. So I would challenge anybody who says that what you do is so complex that nobody can flat rate it, because in all of my years doing it, I just don't find it to be true at all. There are some jobs you can't. We call those time and material jobs, and you're going to have those. Electrical can't be flat rated. Hydraulic diagnostics can't be flat rated. So those are what we call time and material jobs, and we charge those out whatever time it takes us to do it. That's what we have to do. So there are some jobs that can't be. I get that. If you're rebuilding an engine, for the most part, that is just a rebuild that hasn't blown up or exploded, we could probably flat rate that. If the customer blew the engine up and we've got holes that are protruding through the block, we've got parts that are broken on the inside, probably can't flat rate that, because we really are not going to know till we get in there what it's going to be. We can flat rate maybe part of it, but we can't flat rate the whole job. So understand that I do believe, and I would challenge anybody to prove me wrong on this, but I think 75% of the work that happens in any shop, I don't care if it's outdoor power sports, ag, construction, RV, it really makes no difference. I think 75% of the jobs can be and should be flat rated. I think it makes a better situation for the customer. I think customers prefer to pay, do a flat rate over real time. I've been again in lots of shops and worked with lots of service writers and service advisors, and I think one of the most common questions that I hear asked is how much you think it's going to cost. When you say, well, we really won't know till we get in there, most customers are not excited about that. They like to have a rough idea where it's going to be. Even if they think it's high, they like to know. And so I tell people again, I think customers prefer to know what things are going to cost when they drop them off, so they're not surprised when they pick them up. And it doesn't mean when you flat rate, it doesn't mean that you can't build some extra time in, and I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. So flat rating doesn't mean it has to be there, because in shops there are things that come up that we just couldn't predict. We don't know when somebody's chosen to use red Loctite instead of blue, and so now we've got bolts we're trying to take housings apart with, and the bolts are breaking off in the casing, and we're having to tap those out. We can get more time for those things. So flat rating doesn't preclude you from charging more time if something extraordinary out of the unexpected happens. You can always call the customer and get more time. But what it does, again, it gives us a baseline to work off of. So when you think of flat rating, again, I think you're going to find that customers tend to like it. At least all the customers, when I'm behind a parts counter with a service writer, a service advisor, or a service manager, and we're talking to the customer about a job, and they ask how much is it going to be, we like to be able to flip open a book and say, well, based upon our experiences or the industry experiences, it's approximately 8 hours to replace the clutch in that 40-horse tractor. Now, it doesn't mean it might not be a little bit more, because we don't know for sure what's going to happen when we get in there. But for the most part, we're probably 75% sure this is going to be it. If we find something different, then we will get back in touch with you, and you can tell us how you want to proceed at that point. So I let them know that we might run into something, but we'll update them, and they can tell us what they want us to do. But for the most part, 75% of the time, we're going to be able to hit it with those 8 hours if that's what it happened to be. People say techs don't like being on a flat rate system, and I would disagree with the techs that we work with. I think most techs don't like the thought of flat rate because they think of flat rating in terms of how they get paid, which is totally different than what we do in a dealership. In the automotive and the trucking industry, most technicians get 8% of a job, and so they basically are commissioned technicians, and if the job pays 8 hours and they get it done in 8 hours, then they get their billing, their pay off of that 8 hours of billable time. If the job pays 8 hours but it took them 12 hours to do it, they still only get paid on the 8 hours. And again, most techs, when they hear the context or the word flat rating, immediately think, oh, you're going to put me on a straight commission piecework thing, and that's not what we're going to do at all. Our shops use flat rating really to create a baseline for the technicians. So, and if you're a technician listening to this, I don't mean offense by it, but most technicians don't believe that there's ever any end to time. Your job is to get the job done and repair however long it takes. Well, that's just not reality. There are certain time restrictions that we have on a job. And so if you're on a job that should take 8 hours and you're 16 hours into it, you've screwed up someplace. So we use flat rating to say, look, this is the baseline. This is the time it should take to do this. If you were an average technician using hand tools, it should take you 8 hours to split the tractor apart, put a clutch in, and then put the tractor back together. That's your time. And so if you're halfway through your time, and which is I tell technicians, but you're not halfway through your job because something extraordinary happened, something different happened, then you stop, you go get with your manager and say, hey, Bob, I'm 4 hours into this 8-hour job, and somebody red Loctited all the bolts into the housing, and I've got some of them that are breaking off, they're hard to get out. I'm going to need another couple of hours built into this job. At that point, I can call the customer up and say, hey, just talk to my tech, here's what happened, and we're going to be looking at a couple more hours. How do you want us to proceed on it? So the tech doesn't get upside down on the job. You don't get upside down on the job. I tell people again, we don't break them and we don't make them. All we're trying to do in the shop is to get you going again and bring things back to OEM standards. And so by flat rating, we've got a baseline to work from. And if a technician beats the 8 hours, then again in our system they get bonuses based upon efficiencies against flat rate. So if they beat it because they've been happily gone to service schools the manufacturers put on, which I'm a crazy nut that every technician should be going to them, makes you faster, and investing in tools, with the new cordless, the battery-powered impact wrenches and drivers and stuff like this, where you're not dragging around an air hose or you're not using hand tools. For heaven's sakes, they're expensive, and technicians are investing in them, and why shouldn't they be able to get more money, make more money if they are faster because they're making an investment in their profession in the tools that they're buying? So flat rating gives me the ability as a manager or as an owner to bonus my technicians based upon a flat rate for the job, and if the techs meet or exceed that, beat it in terms of time. We have bonus programs that we set up for our technicians that pay out very well. I mean, that's what I want to try to do. Technicians are professionals. If they're willing to invest their time and energy and training and tools, heaven's sakes, why shouldn't we encourage them to do more and to do more with faster? In our toolbox, if you've been in our toolbox, and if you're watching this, you at least have access to it. Whether you've chosen to take advantage of that or not is maybe up to you, but we have flat rate guides set up in there. We have a flat rate guide that's set up for the OPE industry right now, and in July, by the end of July, you're going to see one set up for tractors up to 80 horsepower on basic services, the 50-hour services, 200-hour services, 400-hour services, as well as basic repairs that we're finding our dealers that we're working with that are going through on that. But so in our flat rate guide right now, in our system toolbox right now, you're going to see a flat rate guide, and you're going to see actually two of them. One is called menu pricing, and I want you to understand that menu pricing is flat rating, but what menu pricing is, it doesn't have to do with repair, it has to do with maintenance. So when you think of menu pricing, it is a flat rate, but we call it menu pricing because it's like going to the restaurant. You have a garden tractor. The price to do the full service on that garden tractor is this amount of money. You have a string trimmer, a blower, a chipper shredder, a generator, pick it. We have it in that flat rate guide. That's the time that we find that a average tech should be using to do that work. So ours has time. Ours is set up. If you've been in the toolbox, it's an Excel spreadsheet, so you can go in and change the times if you don't like them. If you look at the time and say, I think that's too much time, or I don't think it's enough time, heaven's sakes, go change it. It's in an Excel spreadsheet. It's easy to do. If you have any problems with it, just call our office, and Jim or Brian, Jeff, or myself, we can help you make adjustments in it for you. You put your posted labor rate in, and automatically calculates the fees for the customer, and you can literally print it out as a book to have at your counter. So if somebody walks up and says, how much is it to put a wheel motor in my zero-turn mower, you've got a price right right there from a labor standpoint. Now, it wouldn't have parts in it because there's a lot of variables in that, but the labor we would have flat rated for that. Same thing with a spindle or a deck belt or an idler arm bracket. Pick any number of things, we would have those in there. And again, I'm saying by the end of July, if you're working in the compact tractor world, as we have a lot of our dealers do now, we will have a guide, an updated guide in there. So you'll see that flat rate guide, it'll be updated, and we will have tractors in there by horsepower, both menu pricing for the services, excuse me, as well as pricing for the basic repairs that we are finding that our dealers that we work with are doing on those tractors. So the flat rate is in there, and that's what the menu pricing is. Then we also, again, have the flat rate labor guide, which is, again, menu pricing is doing basic services. The flat rate labor guide is a guide for repairs. So a little different. Again, one's for the basic services, which is menu pricing, and flat rate guide, labor guide, is for those repairs that take place. And I've got it set up in there right now. We've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shops, and it's really based upon times that we're finding in shops that are good times to do repairs on. So again, our times also, you might look at them and you say, gosh, that's a little much. In our flat rate guide, if you're using our service processes, our service system, and you're familiar with triaging, our flat rate guide has triaging already built into it. And it also has the clean, because we always clean equipment before we bring it into the shop. So in most cases, I built enough time into those to cover both triaging and the clean. If not, you may have a piece of equipment that needs more or whatever, then you'll need to add a little bit of time to that to compensate for that. So, the most important thing, again, to remember when you're looking at flat rating, and not menu pricing now, but flat rating, is that flat rating is based upon equipment being in excellent to good condition. So the time that I have is based upon that equipment being near new. If the equipment's in good to fair, meaning it has mild to moderate corrosion and maybe some of the bolts have rounding on them because homeowner or somebody got on it with the wrong tools, or if it's in fair to poor condition, heavy corrosion, lots of abuse, then we would add more time to that. So a flat rate is based upon equipment being in near new condition. If it's not, you need to add time to that to offset any problems that you might ultimately run into on that equipment, because we all know that I can have the exact two pieces of equipment that were sold the same day and sold to two different people, and one comes in 3 years later in pristine condition, and the other one by the end of the first year looks like it's been in a war and beat up. The guy that takes care of his equipment is going to pay less to have me take care of his equipment than the guy that just tears it up. As I tell my technicians, when I need to bring a settling out as one of my tools, you're going to have to pay more to have me work on your equipment. So again, I just add those times and I move those times up based upon on the equipment condition. So we have excellent to good, near new, good to fair. Typically, I'll add another 20 or 30% to that time. And if it's in fair to poor condition, you just beat the heck out of it. I'll normally add another 50% to that time, just as a rule of thumb. So again, if you have questions on that, just call us here at the office and give us some examples, and we'll help you walk right on through those. Again, if you don't have those, or you may have those, and you say, gosh, Bob, I got some other things that aren't covered in your flat rates, and then I tell all my dealers, then use your manufacturer's warranty rate guide. So if you can't find what you're looking for in ours, and we're going to continue to evolve ours more and more and more, so as a member of the toolbox, you're going to see we're going to constantly be evolving that and adding to it, because I'm such a big believer in the importance of flat rating. But if you don't have it or you don't see it in there, then go to your manufacturer's warranty rate guide. They're going to have something set up in there, and if you look up a clutch on whatever piece of equipment it is, if it's a tractor, they're going to say, okay, this is how much we will pay you to put a new clutch in if it's under warranty. So you can use their guide as that, and they give you how much time they will give you. Now, the key thing to keep in mind when you're working with the manufacturer's warranty rate guide, if it's out of warranty, the manufacturer's warranty rate guide is assuming the equipment is in near new condition. So once it's out of warranty, it's no longer in excellent to good condition. It's just not going to be. So now we move it into, and we start adding time to it. How much time do you add to it? Well, typically, if it's out of warranty, the first thing I need to do is figure out what my warranty recovery rate is, because I'm going to take the manufacturer's warranty rate guide and find out what I'm recovering as a percent of my warranty claims from that manufacturer, and then I'll automatically add time onto it. So let me give you an example. Let's say I have a manufacturer and I look at how much money I get back when I file warranty claims. So let's just say, for sake of an example, that I have a manufacturer and I filed a warranty claim for let's say $1,000. We'll keep it simple. This would be on for like a tractor or something like this. If this is a garden tractor, you probably have a bigger issue, but let's just say it's for a compact tractor. So I filed a warranty claim for $1,000 and I got paid, let's say $700 on that. So the manufacturer says, well, I know you asked for $1,000, but all we're going to do is give you $700. Well, there's nothing you can do about that. That's what manufacturers do. And I'm not knocking manufacturers here, but just understand that's how it works. And so now I know for that manufacturer, let's say the manufacturer is Bob's Tractors, and you're selling Bob's Tractors, and I'm only paying you 70% of what you're asking for. So you know when you look at my warranty rate guide that it's off by 30% from what it really takes you to do a job in your shop. And so if that piece of equipment, Bob's Tractor, was out of warranty, you would go to my warranty rate guide as a tractor manufacturer, and you would automatically add 40%, excuse me, 40% of their time. So as an example, so if they said it takes, let's say it takes 4 hours to do this job and it's out of warranty, you would take that 4 hours, add another 40% to that 4 hours, and so that you would now price that job out from a flat rate standpoint at 5.6 hours. 40% of 4 hours would be another 1.6 hours. So I take 4, add 1.6 to it, so now I'm at 5.6 hours. So that would be what I would do for a flat rate if that piece of equipment's in excellent to good condition. If it's in good to fair condition, I would probably add another 20% to it. Okay, so now I would take that and I would add maybe another hour. So I would take that job from 5.6 maybe to say 6.6 or 6.8, something like that. You have to make that determination based upon your own shop. And if it's in horrid condition, terrible condition, I would add then another 50% on that. So that job that was at 5.6 now might be up close to 9 hours. Because I don't know what I'm going to have to do to it. You've tore it up. It's totally corroded. There's not a shoulder on any bolt. And again, acetylene is going to be my tool of choice. So what you have to do is you have to look at the manufacturer's warranty recovery rate. Every manufacturer is going to be different on this. So then you add time so that you're over 100%. Okay, so I don't want you to just be at 100. So when you added, I add 40% to 70, so that would put me at 110%, right? Because I know, as good as I am, there's still going to be stuff that's going to bite me in the butt, and so I got to be over 100% to cover for some of those things. Because again, we are guessing here a little bit. So you take and you add enough time to the manufacturer's time to get you to 110%. That way, when you're flat rating, you got yourself covered. So if you have a job that's a little bit over that, you don't get burned. And if you have a job that's a little bit under that, it kind of averages itself out, which again is ultimately what we're trying to do with flat rating. So again, you got to add a little bit of time to make those things happen. As a side note, again, I just want you to know that by the end of July, we're going to have an updated flat rate guide that'll include the basic repairs and hourly services for compact tractors. Our goal is up to 80 horsepower. Again, while there are lots of different tractor manufacturers and all of you guys out there handle different brands, I understand that. We are finding that really a 20-hour or a 20-horse or a 30-horse or a 40-horse tractor, for the most part, requires about the same amount of time to do it with the hydraulic filters and all the different things like that. So we're going to try to standardize that a little bit. It is going to be a little bit work in progress, and we're looking forward to getting feedback as we introduce some of the new things that we're doing in our flat rate guide, in our dealer toolbox. Give us feedback on it. If you feel like, gosh, you're a little off here, a little off there, that's a part of what we're trying to do together. And again, you will be getting an email from Vanessa from our office, who oversees the dealer toolbox. You'll be getting an email from her to let you know when that's in and the update is in there. And again, it'll be in an Excel spreadsheet format. And most of your software manufacturers will give you the ability to upload that into your system if you'd like to do that. So you're sure welcome to do it. Again, it's going to be an ongoing process for us. My goal is every 90 days or so to continue to update that flat rate guide and the menu pricing guide so that you got better and better tools to work with so you can make more money as a part of it. If you do have any questions, I just want to encourage you again, don't hesitate to call our office. Again, you can get with Jim or Brian. Most of you know them. They've been at your dealerships in most cases. Jeff is in here working really and supporting me as a part of what we're doing, and also with our dealer success groups, and you'll be hearing more about those as we continue to evolve into those. Or myself. call the office. Most of you already have my cell phone, so if you have a question, just give me a buzz and we'll help you through it. I want to thank everybody again for taking a little bit time to look at this. I hope I have clarified for you all a little bit more about flat rating and giving you the ability maybe to explain it to your people a little bit better. I want to thank you so much for supporting our organization. We are here and we are blessed to be here because of your support, and we really thank you for that. And I really encourage you to continue to give us ideas and things like that you would like us to see as an organization. Our goal as an organization is to help dealerships grow and prosper and achieve their goals, and we can only do it with good feedback from you all. So again, thank you so much, and again, good luck on using those flat rate guides and menu pricing guides, and let us know in any way if we can help you.